Doomsday 3.
No, we had Doomsday 1. He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix. Most of his friends leave, of course. Prayer for safety and,
got people on the defense talking about it. You better get your ass the ball. You better get your ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to Dallas, different.
For sure, they would have thrown it off because
This guy gets off you.
And then I go to bed every night like, G man, I promise you that we got a Man, what is up, Cowboys Nation? Mike Tag, Kelly K9 here on a Wednesday. It's kind of been like a crazy, you're getting ready for the holidays, so it's been a little dreary, a little quiet, I don't know. I told Kelly before the show I hadn't been on my game with following up on the Cowboys, getting ready for this week. I was in Carolina, but we'll get into that. But before we get rolling, make sure you hit that subscribe, like, shares. You guys are rolling in. As you're rolling in, hit them thumbs up, man. It helps the channel, helps us support the channel. We do appreciate it. If you're just checking us out, make sure you hit that subscribe. And Kelly, how was first of all, how was your weekend? I retweeted your video. I said Happy Kelly's back. I always like the Happy Kelly. I don't like the angry Kelly, but I like the Happy Kelly. But you had a good weekend. Obviously, your son's birthday. We're just talking about, man, these kids are growing up faster than ever before our very eyes. But how's everything going, my man?
Good, man. It's going really good, and it was a good weekend. Celebrated my son's birthday, and got to watch the Cowboys win. Got to watch you guys, and got to watch you guys living y'all's best life out there in Carolina in the suite. I thought that was pretty cool, man. But yeah, man, it was a good weekend overall, man. Cowboys won, and played well, looked well doing it. I know it was the Carolina Panthers, so I'm not sitting there bumping my chest over the Carolina Panthers. But I mean, they showed some good signs and have continued to show some good signs down the stretch. So, but yeah, man, good weekend overall, and I can't believe that the end of 2024 is almost here, man. It's crazy.
The years they go by faster and faster as you get older. And again, if I talked about it Monday, but I'd be remiss not to give one more quick shout out to our man Doug. Doug and his son Dustin. How that happened, I don't know if you know, but we had our regular seats, right? We're getting our seats, and I guess a friend of Dustin has a suite, and I guess he messaged him and said, "Look, man, I ain't gonna make it to the game. Would you be interested?" And they're like, "Yeah." He goes, "How many?" And the guy's like, How many you need?" And he's like, "Man, how many you got?" He's like, "I got 15." So he's like, "Take them all." So it was a surprise to Cuts and I. We had no idea. Then Steve was there and his wife, and it was just such a cool thing. And I mean, obviously can't thank that family enough. It just shows, I talked about it before, because whenever I post stuff, Kelly, and I don't know if you get it, but I always get a comment or two like, "I can't believe you're wasting your money on Jerry and you're spending and I try and explain to people, man, what that weekend, you saw the pictures, that's what I'm spending my money on, the memories and the friendships and the camaraderie and just a great time. I saw Rome, there as well from Cowboy Fans Talk. I mean, we hung out in the suite as well. So that's what I'm spending my money on. That's what it is. And I can spend my money on whatever the hell I want. Ain't nobody's business anyway, but that's what it's about, man. I love it. I know it's been a rough year. I know we've got our challenges, but things like that, man, I ain't never going to pass up to hang out with people like you or Cuts and Doug and the whole crew, even SoCal.
Well, I do want to say that next year, I initially earlier in the year or last year we talked about it in the offseason. We talked playing on it. I'm getting to a road game. We talked about actually going to the Denver Broncos.
Denver, I think Denver's on that list.
Denver next year. So that would be something we plan on doing. But yeah, I definitely want to get to a road game.
Yeah, I planted some seeds because I've got some friends in Denver, And I said, hey, do you got tickets? You got hookups? I'm going to need a minimum of 4, maybe more. We'll see what happens. But he says, I got your hookup. Holler if you hear me. So I hollered. So we'll try and make it happen.
There we go.
It's either that or Vegas, right? Vegas might be a little pricey. So, but anyway.
Pricey but fun.
It will be, yeah, absolutely. No, Vegas would be good. I told you my son's turning 21, so that we might plan something out there. But anyway, so you know how it goes, Kelly. When you're at the game, you've been to plenty. You could see stuff, but you really can't see stuff. So give me as a Cowboys fan, because I had Jimmy on. Jimmy don't care about the Cowboys. He wasn't watching. So I need you to kind of give me your thoughts of the game. What did you see? Did they meet expectations? What were your thoughts going into the game? Lay it down for the people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a twofold thing. Here's the thing. I understand on one hand that it was the Carolina Panthers, but on the other hand, I recognize when the Cowboys are playing good football. And because here's the thing, we talk about this all the time about good football teams. They take care of business against the bad football teams. And I thought, I'm not sitting there trying to say that the Cowboys are a good football team. I think that they have potential still with the players and the nucleus on this team to be a good football team moving forward and into next year, adding some pieces at the draft, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that Jerry does something in free agency. But look, they played well, man. They had some creative blitz packages. They were getting after the quarterback. They were turning getting the ball, getting turnovers. It looked like the defense that we had seen the year before with Dan Quinn. It's an aggressive defense, quick to the ball, blitzing, creative with who they're bringing from the blitz positions, because they're bringing guys from kind of all over the place, moving Parsons around. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's a run control, offense, which always just seems to work best. And I don't really care who you are. I mean, I think that if you're able to run the ball in this league, you're going to be able to win. And I mean, look no further than Philadelphia. I mean, they've been doing it better than anybody this year. They've got a solid defense. In fact, they've got the number 1 defense in the NFL right now, and they've got a great run game. They're 12-2. It's not a coincidence. Right. And the only thing that is discouraging for me is watching Mike McCarthy call these kind of games now with the actual commitment to run the ball. Rico Dowdle getting 20 plus carries a game now. Right. This is winning. This is a winning formula for this Cowboys team. And what I don't understand is why we weren't doing this earlier in the year when we had Dak Prescott, because I think he's a far superior quarterback than Cooper Rush. He can make the throws that Cooper Rush can't make. A lot of these routine throws over the middle. There was a play where CD was coming across the middle, easy first down, possibly more, throws it behind CD Lamb. CD Lamb's not able to catch the ball and secure the ball. It's a 3rd down, and then now it's a 4th down, right? Plays like that are plays that Dak Prescott can make. And it's funny because, a lot of people say, well, when Dak is the quarterback, they operate a lot out of the shotgun. And it's harder to run when you're going out of the shotgun, which I agree. But my whole thing is, okay, well, why not put Dak behind center? Because I do think that when you put Dak behind center and you operate the play action pass, he can do it. He's shown that he can do it and be successful doing it. He did it a lot his rookie season. And I just think that Mike McCarthy is kind of just weird that whenever Dak Prescott's not in, whether it be 2022, whether it be now, all of a sudden the defense plays better. Defense plays significantly better. And Mike McCarthy calls a game plan that is conducive to winning, which is control the clock, run the ball, play action pass, and take your shots when you got them. And I think that's a recipe for winning. So I like what I'm seeing, but at the same time, I wish I would have seen a lot of this earlier in the year.
Yeah. I think the defense has been a huge difference for me. Like you said, you had Liufau with 2 sacks. I mean, he came in replaced Overshown. So you're getting other guys stepping up. I think what you're seeing with Zimmer is over the last, it's probably been the last 7 weeks and stuff. You're seeing kind of what the defense you thought. Obviously, early on, it was a little bit of a disaster for them, and then pile on a few injuries. But really, the disaster was when they're fully healthy, believe it or not. They've actually been playing better as they've been getting guys back. I agree with you on the offensive side. And, I'm never a fan of I don't mind 2 running backs, but I'm not a fan of give this guy 5 carries, that guy 5 carries, that guy 3 carries, whatever it's going to be. I think you need to have a dog. And I was disappointed, like all of us, we didn't get one. But the best option on a team, I think we all said, was what they had was going to be Rico, was going to be your workhorse, and Zeke would be your short yardage and your goal line. And now that they've kind of committed to Rico, don't look now, but over the last like 6 weeks, he's been like the number 1 running back, number 2 running back, in the league. So he's been getting those carries and they've been winning. And it is a formula for winning. So it's like, is when Dak's in there, is there pressure to say, we're paying this guy all this money, we got to throw and we got to throw and we got to throw? I mean, I don't understand it because like you said, I mean, running the football is the formula for success. I don't care what level of football you're at. That's the basic. You got to be able to run the football. So do you think it could be because Dak Prescott, they feel they need to throw the ball more because he's the man making the most money? I mean, I hope that's not the case.
Well, I was talking and we were kind of going back and forth, me and a guy on Twitter earlier, as if, fellow Cowboys fan the other day, and he was talking about that and saying, that he thinks that it's from the top. It comes from Jerry Jones. That Jerry, is like, no, we're going to have Dak throw it. But it makes no sense to me, though. Why would you do that, though? Because if you're Mike McCarthy and you know that, hey, if I put Dak under center here, we play action pass, we run the ball, and we win. What is Jerry going to do? He's going to fire you for winning? I mean, so I don't really buy the fact that Jerry's telling Mike McCarthy, you know what, Dak's got to throw it 30 to 40 times. I don't think he dictates that. I think maybe honestly, what I think is that maybe Dak has a little bit too much control over the offense, and I think maybe Dak is checking out of runs, and maybe Dak is the guy because he does have the power to check out of it, and you know what? Maybe they need to take that away from him. And listen, I understand they're saying, well, how do you take that ability away from your quarterback? You paid him this much money to do that. Well, maybe because you do it because what he's doing and checking out of these is a detriment to the team. Look at a guy like Jared Goff. I think he's a perfect example. You look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff was a quarterback that was, fairly successful with the Los Angeles Rams, but there was just something that was missing about him. That just seemed like something was missing, right? Goes to Detroit. Get a guy like Dan Campbell. He comes in. You got Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator. They kind of put things around and they simplified things. They got 2 really good running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs. They run control. They got a good tight end, and they've got a set of some really good wide receivers. And Jared Goff has just completely flipped what he was in LA. I mean, I think that people thought he was a decent quarterback when he was at the Rams, but now look at him. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFC and then actually in the NFL. I mean, nobody's talking about him in terms of like, hey, this guy's MVP caliber, but he's not the reason his team is going to lose. He is not the one that's going to be turning the ball over. He's making smart decisions. He's winning games. I mean, the game against Buffalo, I mean, hell, he threw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. I mean, that was on his defense, wasn't on Jared Goff. He did his part. And I just think that if you have that kind of mentality, and you call another example, and I hate to keep giving them kudos, but shit, I've watched them enough this year that I know what I'm seeing and I know a recipe for success. The Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is not a guy who is renowned for being a passer, but they don't give a fuck if they're running it 25 times a game and Jalen's only passing 10 to 15. Do you think they care that they're 12-2 right now and that people are, because I know Cowboys fans, including myself,
AJ Brown cares.
And he might, but they're still winning. They're still winning despite all of that. And then they go to this Pittsburgh game and then they air it out a little bit. And then AJ Brown gets his, and then they're all happy and they're dancing. And it's
now Jalen Carter's mad.
Exactly. But you have to put your quarterback in a position to win, and you have to put them in winning positions. So if Mike McCarthy needs to put Dak under center and take away the ability for him to check out of this and say, look, you're going to run the plays that we're calling for. If he needs to do that, then he needs to do that. Because if your quarterback is sitting there checking out of everything and he's just throwing the ball 40 damn times a game, then it's not going to work. And I get it. SoCal, he says he's got an O-line. I get that. The Dallas Cowboys O-line has played significantly better these past few games. Significantly better. Now, I understand it was against some of the defenses that Rico's ran against are some of the worst run defenses in the league. But still, Dowdle's been putting up some damn impressive numbers, because if it was that easy to do, everybody would be putting up the 160, 150 yards. He's been very impressive, right? So,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can improve on this offensive line. I think that they've found ways that I think that they've shuffled this offensive line so many times. They're finally starting to find a little bit of consistency, and that offensive line is looking better. So all I'm saying is if you're Mike McCarthy, if you're Schottenheimer, whoever the offensive coordinator, got to put Dak in a position to win. And I just don't think that they've done that well enough on this team. And I just think that I think it's just very simple. I think the answers are very simple. I think you go back to what we saw in 2016, 2017, the early success from Dak, play action pass, under center, and just watch Dak thrive, because he's accurate and he can throw the ball downfield. But I think a lot of the times it's just they get pass happy, whether it's him or McCarthy. I don't know, but they get way too pass happy when Dak's under center.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and they've even done it with Cooper. Like I go back to the Bengals, not to beat a dead horse, but it was like, I remember Rico in the fourth quarter, whatever it was, ran for like 15 yards, and then they threw it 3 straight times. So it's just like, why stop what's working? But I tell you, with the offensive line, the thing that I mean, and I don't want to say that I called it, but I said this offensive line is going to get better as the year goes on. And I think, and I mean, I'd never thought I would say this, losing Martin might be the best thing for this team in the future, because you've gotten more opportunity for Hoffman. And I've been loving the way Hoffman's played when given the opportunity to get some net. Bass has been playing well. Obviously BB's coming back from a concussion. He looks like he's going to be back for the Tampa game. I mean, he's been playing even better. You get Guyton in it. I think your right tackle, away from a really solid offensive line of guys under 25 years old. You're talking about a young offensive line, and it's not high price. It's not a bunch of huge contracts. So it's an opportunity for them to have a few years of taking advantage of the salary cap with this offensive line, like they haven't been able to do in the past when they had, Tyron, you had Zach, and you had all these guys, making that big money. So I think that's something that could definitely look forward to in the future. The one thing I would ask you to kind of segue, because you're talking about McCarthy and you're kind of seeing what's going on and just putting it back out there. I mean, could you see McCarthy and Zimmer? Jerry was on the radio. He said, they are kind of tied at the hip. Could you see both of them back in 25? Give McCarthy a mulligan with injuries, but they've been battling, and they have obviously a potential to kind of maybe make a decent season out of this. I mean, what's your thoughts on how would you feel if they both came back? And you guys in the chat, how would you feel if they came back for one more round?
I mean, me personally, I wouldn't feel great about it. I've just got to the point where I've been so aggravated with this season, and just what I see is the lack of discipline. They're still a very penalty-ridden team. I think they had 10 holding penalties, it felt like, in the first damn half of that game. It was flag after flag, and it was holding penalty. And I feel there's a lot of undisciplined nature in this football team. I think I just keep going back and saying that's a Mike McCarthy issue. I feel like it's been that way for a long time with Mike. I thought at one time he was kind of starting to trend the right way, but I don't know, man. Here's the thing though. My feelings don't really matter to what Jerry Jones is going to do, and I feel like it's trending towards Mike McCarthy and Zimmer are going to be back.
Well, let me ask you. You and I have been around the Cowboys long enough, so we know how Jerry works. So I'll throw the names out there that would probably be the replacement, and you tell me who you want, who you'd rather have. Ron Rivera, Kellen Moore, Jason Witten's name's been thrown out there. You're going to get Mike Zimmer as the head coach. You're going to get those guys. I see Vrabel. I don't know if Jerry does that. I mean, when you hear Ben Johnson, I don't think Jerry's going to pay. I don't think they're going to do it, and I don't know if Ben Johnson's going to want to come here with the with the Jerry from what he said. So, given the names of you being a fan, would you rather go with what you think he'd end up getting, or would you rather go with a coach that's been 12-5 for the last 3 years, has this team's fighting. I mean, we could say what we want about the Cowboys and disappointing year. This team has not quit, and they have been fighting in every game, since all these injuries, obviously mainly with Dak getting injured. So what would you rather have if that's your scenario, which you know what Jerry's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, I mean, obviously, I would just say, fuck it, we might as well keep Mike McCarthy if that's the situation, because I don't really have faith in any one of those guys. It's just, right now, I don't want to change just for the sake of changing. I want to change for an upgrade. I want it to be an upgrade. I don't want the same old. But here's the thing with Jerry Jones. Right when you think you know what he's thinking and where he's at with something, he kind of changes his tune a little bit. I mean, I saw something the other day where I read an article where Jerry said he is rethinking everything. He's rethinking the way that he approaches free agency. He's rethinking the way that he does, which when you hear those kinds of things, those make you think, okay, if he's rethinking his approach to everything, do we see something different than we saw this last year? Or is it just more, smoke getting blown up our asses, right? But if Jerry really wants to change his approach, if he's true to what he says, if that's really what he wants is to change his approach, then he does one of two things. He either runs it back with Mike McCarthy and gives Mike McCarthy control to do this his way and says, any changes you think we should make, guys you think we should sign, free agency, I want your input. I want you know what? I'll write the checks. You make the decisions. Because I don't think Mike McCarthy has had that power at all up to this point, right? So he either does that or he fires Mike McCarthy and brings in a head coach who is going to be a young, innovative guy who he also gives control and says, I'm going to let you build the roster the way that you see fit. I'm going to let you build your coaching staff the way you see fit. So, or Jerry just blowing smoke up our asses and does everything the same way that he did last year. And so, I mean, what are we going to be looking at? I think it's the latter. I think it's Jerry Jones does the same thing. I think Jerry Jones will do the same thing. And honestly, what I've started to feel like these past couple of weeks is that Jerry is going to re-sign Mike McCarthy and Mike Zimmer stays on and that they run this thing back. I think that they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt because of the injuries, because of the fact that they've won 6 games now with a decimated roster. I mean, this roster, you want to talk about injuries. I don't know that there's any team. I think the 49ers are the only one that has more injuries throughout the season than the Dallas Cowboys have had. So I think that they will chalk this one up to injuries. I think they will try to run it back again next year with the exact same coaching staff. And we'll see. Again, if you take away all the injuries from this team, I think it probably would have ended up as a 10-win team. I think they would have eventually kind of got things figured out. I think this team was good enough to win 10 games. Honestly, I really do, because of the way that they're playing now, right? If they're playing this kind of football now, the defense playing this level of football now, the offensive line gelling the way they are, Rico Dowdle running the ball now with Dak Prescott back there. I think this is absolutely a game where you win 10. I think we would have won the Cincinnati game. I think there's some games out there that we had lost that we would have won. So I guess we'll just kind of see where we can go and hope for the best. But right now, this team's fighting and they're not in tank mode by any stretch of the imagination. And they're going out there, they're playing hard, they're playing tough. And we got a really scrappy Bucs team that we're going to be playing on Sunday Night Football that will be no cakewalk. And I feel like out of all the games that we've played recently, I feel like we'll find out the most playing that Bucs team. Because I think if you go in and I think if you beat Tampa Bay, a playoff team with the guys that we got on this roster right now, and Cooper Rush is the quarterback, I think that says a lot about this team if you beat a team like Tampa Bay. That says a lot about this team as far as where we are and where we could be heading forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And does the fact that Parsons and Dak Prescott and CD have been very public about McCarthy and wanting him to be the coach, and does that carry any weight? Because Jerry did mention that he's like, when these are the guys they've invested in, right? So if you've invested the money into this and there's a comfort level that they have with the coach and they want this coach, you kind of be careful to make those knee-jerk changes. And that's the only thing I would say with McCarthy. I don't know. Now, again, if you're going to tell me you're going to go get an elite coach, I'm all in. But I just don't want to fire people just for the sake of it, because you see these coaches that kind of go through these teams that go through this revolving door of coaches. It never really seems to bring anything to them. So if they're going to do it, I got to see that it's a major upgrade if they're going to make that move. Just my opinion. But
I just think the players have a little bit to do with it, but I don't think overly. I think Jerry is still the controlling voice in that in that organization. But yeah, I think the players, it is a good thing that the players, for Mike McCarthy, that the players are so vocal in their support, and especially the Dak Prescott's, the CeeDee Lambs, and the Micah Parsons. I mean, those are some of your bigger guys on the team that are voicing support for your head coach. So
yeah. And moving over to my man Micah Parsons, and I think I put apostrophe in there. Sorry about that. I was rushing, so I screwed up. Micah Parsons' comments. There's been a few, so I'm gonna run them down with you. And one of them was interesting because a lot of you brought up Tank, and he was quoting on. They asked him why the Cowboys aren't tanking, and we're fighting for each other. There's a lot of guys fighting for new contracts, guys fighting to take care of their families. So there's still a lot of football to be played. And I think that's where a lot of people need to understand. These guys this is their job. They're professionals. They're not just going to go out there and let themselves get beat up for no reason. Some of these guys may not return to football if that's the case. So, these guys are fighting for so I don't ever believe in NFL teams tanking. If an organization wants to bench their starting quarterback or do something like that, but the guys on the field are going to fight their ass off because this is their livelihood, and the window is so short for them to make any money. So those comments, but really the main comments I wanted to talk about with Micah Parsons was on, they were interviewing him, and he was talking about the money and the contract. And he said, what's the difference between 30 million and 40 million? I would rather give up something if it means bringing more in. These are the comments that the fans love, because hometown discount, and I'll take some if you help. I mean, what do you think? You think that's accurate? I know his agent sure the hell don't want to hear that. But I mean, what do you think about Parsons? Because I really think this year, under these circumstances, I think he's matured. I think he's become a leader in the team. I think he's become the voice of the team. I think he's kind of really grown in to be the dominant player that I think we know he is. But more importantly, I think in the locker room, he's elevating the people around him. So what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, man. Well, I know that we had kind of touched on it a little bit last week, and I just think it's kind of sad that he has to say that. You know what I mean? That it come to the point where he has to say that, because I mean, as a star player, one of the best defensive players in the league, you shouldn't have to come out and say that. The interesting thing to me, I guess not interesting thing, because I think he's been pretty steadfast on this the entire time through all these negotiations, or not negotiations, through all the talk, the rumor, everything. There's been talk about them. There's been mention of them trading Micah Parsons, and he was asked about that possibility. He said, "Hey, look, man, I know it's a business, but I'd like to be a Cowboy for life." And that's what I want. That's what I'm hoping for. And then there was some clarification that came out on the fan. Jerry Jones came out on the fan and said, absolutely not. So I guess Stephen Jones had said that he had said some things, and I guess maybe the way that he worded it, people took it as maybe
they're always going to run with it.
Maybe Micah Parsons is a guy that could be traded. Jerry Jones came out and said, no, absolutely not. I know that has never been uttered. He goes, I didn't even hear what Stephen said, but I know that's not what he said, because that has not been uttered in this organization. Micah Parsons is priority number one in the offseason. So Micah Parsons, I don't have any doubt that he'll get signed. Now, the thing is, though, if he does, let's say he does sign for $10 million less, Micah Parsons, I think, in my opinion, that's something that he has to have his agent put in the contract that says, look, if I'm taking $10 million less, that money better goddamn well be getting spent on free agents. I want you bringing in XYZ, whoever that may be, but I want you spending that money. I don't want you sitting back here hoarding the money like the Cowboys did this year, because I mean, for whatever goddamn reason, I mean, they've got 20-some million on the cap right now that they're under the cap and didn't spend that money. And then for what reason, I have no idea, because it did us no good. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Micah Parsons, I'm taking less. I'm making it. The demands that I'm making are, if I'm taking less, then I want that money spent. I want that money allocated to bring talent in to make this team better. Because I'm not. If I'm Micah Parsons, I'm telling them, look, I'm not taking less money to run back another season like what we just had last year in 24. Right. No. So I think that's that's what I would say if I'm Micah Parsons, is like, let's see though what happens when it comes to actual contract negotiations. Because saying it now is one thing, but actually signing a contract for 10 million less is a whole nother thing. When you're looking at your agents like, look, man, I got Jerry by the balls, man. We can ask for whatever the hell we want right now. You'd be stupid not to go and get that money. Go and get it, because at the end of the day, Jerry don't give two shits about you, and that if you go out there and your career is over tomorrow, Jerry's not going to be shedding no tears. He's going home to sleep on his 800 Egyptian thread count sheets at the house. He don't give a damn about where you're at, Mike. Go and get that money. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the offseason. It'll be interesting.
It will be. I'm not a man who pushes for players to do it. I think he'll get a lot of pressure from his peers. I mean, because he is going to set the bar, right? If he sets the bar low, I mean, that could lower the bar for other players that are getting contracts as well.
Day, yeah.
So yeah, you gotta, I don't know if that'll happen. There was talk of Steven talking about the salary cap, and it's going to be tight in 25. Jerry came out, like you said, and he kind of was moving things around, not really admitting to that and doing that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. And it's like you and I said, we're not asking, and I think most fans aren't asking them to be, go sign the biggest guy for the biggest contract and get all crazy. It's being very strategic and being very calculated in what you do. We said there's an issue running the ball. Go get a running back. They didn't do that. We said they could use some veteran guys on the line. Steele's a little unsure. Go get a veteran swing tackle, someone that you could put in instead of having a rookie left tackle sitting out there, hanging out there. If he's struggling, you could bring a guy in, or you could move Steele struggling. You can move a guy. So and we're schlubs sitting at home on a couch, and we saw these things. So that's all we asked for. And I don't understand how they didn't see that. Defensive tackle would have been nice to get a couple defensive tackles in there early on to help with the run, yada, yada. So I don't understand their thought process and the logic behind it. I mean, I know they're bargain basement shopping the last several years. That doesn't seem to be working. I think they're going to have to be active in free agency. The only thing that really pisses me off as a fan and a season ticket holder is the seat deposit is due the day before free agency starts. So I've got to commit another year, because I've said it. I love my Cowboys. I'll go to games, but I'll be damned if I'm going to commit, continue to pay top dollar and not see a top return with them being all in and giving me and the fans the best opportunity where we feel good. Because I think all of us felt uneasy about this season, right? Going into it, there was hope things go right, but in reality, we were like, they didn't really address the needs that we had. So that's my thing with this team, is I need to see them making smart, calculated moves to fill in some of the weak spots that we have. So
I agree. Yeah, but I feel the same way in terms of how I'm going to feel going into next season. Really want to see what this team's going to do. Really want to see how he's going to approach this offseason, because some changes definitely need to be made in terms of how they approach that offseason and how they are with free agency. Because I mean, again, we've talked about it many times. It's not like we're asking them to empty their wallet book and spend all their money on free agents. We understand we got to take care of our own guys. Osa is going to have to. I want him back. I think he's a priority as well, along with Micah. I would love to have Osa back. Obviously, Micah is, you got Osa and Micah, but and then you've got a guy like Brock Hoffman. He's going to be a guy who's available. He's a guy that's out there. I think Rico Dowdle is going to be a free agent this year. You're going to have some decisions to make, man. You have some decisions to make, whether you want to retool with these guys and bring these guys back. And listen, I know that there's been, and I don't know what your opinion on is, so I'm going to ask you then, because I'm curious. But I know right now there's a portion of the Cowboys fan base right now that are saying, we want Rico Dowdle back. Look at the way he's running the ball. He's doing this, he's doing that. And I will say this. Well, actually, I'm just going to pivot to you real quick. I want to know what your opinion is on Rico Dowdle. Is he a guy you prioritize and bring him back next year?
No. I mean, it's a nice story, but they need to get – I mean, bring him back as a 2, I'd have no problem with it. But they have got to get – they've got to get a guy that strikes fear. He doesn't strike fear in defenses. I mean, right? Am I wrong? I mean, he's
I'm
nice.
100% on board with that. Okay. I was hoping to say that.
We're on the same page. Let me ask you one that I thought you were going there, and if you did it, I was gonna say, man, you and I got like ESP, man. We think alike. Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah. I saw the.
What do you guys think in the chat? Trayvon Diggs.
I saw a graphic the other day about how much money the Cowboys can save if they cut Diggs. So my thing with Diggs is you can save a lot of money. You can bring back and use some of that money to sign Deron Bland. Isn't Deron Bland going to be a free agent?
Bland's going to be up. Yeah.
Okay. So you can use that money to get Bland. Diggs has had now multiple lower leg injuries. Now this is another one. That's going to be a deal that looks like it's going to carry into next season, if not most of next season, that Diggs will be out of there. You can save, I believe I saw something that said you can save $10 million if he's a post-June 1 cut.
Yeah.
I think is what it said. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm seriously considering cutting him. Only reason why is you're talking about a defensive back now that has had multiple knee injuries. I mean, I think that you might just cut him and use that money to either use the money to sign Bland and bring in somebody to play alongside Bland, or you pay Bland and you've got some of these younger guys maybe on the roster that you want to give a shot to, because they've got some younger guys that are out there. What's his name? Butler, the kid.
Yeah, Butler, the one who got hurt. Yeah,
he was playing pretty good for a little while. It was some, maybe it was some off season and that. Maybe you've got some guys in there that are younger, or you can go through the draft and you can draft a guy. But I'm just saying, I'd be very hesitant to bring him back at this point. And just looking at the way that the money that you can save, wouldn't be surprised if Diggs is a guy that gets cut. And if not cut, then seriously restructured. But I think you would just probably go and cut him, because you're going to save you a really good amount of money at this point. And again, a DB with lower leg injuries like that, guys that depend on their speed and that lateral movement, it's just, I don't think he'd be the same guy. I don't think he's going to be the same guy.
And I would say this, and I'm not being negative on Diggs, because I like him, but I can't get that when he came out of the locker room like right away and he went after the reporter that I thought was critical of him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, mental toughness and just I don't know. Like I don't see that. Like I look at the top cornerbacks, that I remember, like a Revis and I mean Sherman was a really good cornerback, and I look at obviously Dion, and you look at Surtain, and you look at a lot of these guys, Sauce Gardner, you see, and I don't see that that attitude with them. Like I don't know. Like to me, you shouldn't be that insecure that how fast you were out there. I mean, he was still in his uniform. I mean, you need to, if you're the number one cornerback, you need to be a dog. I mean, you need to be badass. You need to be intimidating. They better not go your way. And I just don't see that for him. So paying top dollar, I don't know if they're getting top cornerback. I think he's a nice cornerback. I think he's a good cornerback. It's nothing against him. I just don't know if, and in the locker room, if he's doing that and he's your leader on your team, I just don't know. I think part of what we talked about culture-wise, I don't know if that's it. And nothing again, but then I see Stephon Diggs, and it's kind of similar stuff, right? This guy's like, and so I just don't know if he's got that makeup that you want, that killer, that you need.
Well, well, hold on.
Am I being insensitive? Am I being wrong? Maybe I am.
This right here, though, when he don't attempt to tackle, that hits different. Cuts that when he doesn't attempt to tackle. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I've seen that a bunch of times with him. The business decisions that he makes when it comes to pulling up on tackles, getting alligator arms, just those kind of things right there. And this has nothing to do with his play on the field, but goddamn, I hate the fact that he dresses like sometimes looks like he's wearing women's clothes, man. I hate that shit. I swear to God, that shit just bugs the shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this dude wearing? He's got knee-high fucking leather boots on and a goddamn leather fucking poncho. Like, what are you wearing? I hate that shit. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this play on the field. But listen, I seriously think that you look at letting Diggs go. I really do. I'm not going to be distraught if Diggs is out. If they cut Diggs and he's a post-June 1st cut, I'm not out here crying about it. I think that this secondary, I think we got some young guys in this secondary. I really do. I think there's some guys in this secondary that can step up and play well. And I think they're physical too. I think I've seen a lot of physicality out of some of them guys. And I've looked at Diggs even when he was, even when he was healthy this year. And I don't think that he has been what you're paying for him. I don't think he's been worth, because I think he's given up some big plays and he's gotten burnt.
And that's what I'm saying. I think Diggs could start on any team. Trust me. I just don't know the value. I don't know if you're getting that return on value, and it's all about that, right? It's business. So what you at the end of the day, it's business. So I'll throw another one to you. Is Davis, right? The pass rushers who's been playing, and now he's tying the team, right? Isn't Carl Davis? Am I saying it right? Did I mess up? Yeah. You got that look on your face. So so my mind's been going a million places.
I'm reading comments.
I'm sorry. So he and you look at Tank, and Tank was, his contract's going to be up. Do you bring him back, or do you bring a guy like Davison, who's kind of filled that role of Fowler kind of was, but last year he's been playing really well, and obviously you get Sam back and Nealon's another year. So do you bring a Davis back and kind of let Tank go if Tank wants to come back? I mean, how do you work that? Because again, it's all about the numbers. If we want to get free agents, you want to get stuff, you got to part with some guys to create even more money to spend. So what's your thoughts on Tank's return?
Well, you got a lot of guys that you're going to make decisions on, because like you said, I mean, not only Diggs, but then you've got D-Law, who hasn't really been available for you a lot this year, and I think youth. I'm all for the youth movement and going with younger, and I think some of these guys, I think you got to move on, and I think he's probably one of them. And I just, I wouldn't be terribly upset by moving on from him either.
Yeah. No, I mean, he shut Chase down a few years ago, but I don't know if they shut Chase down.
I'll just say this: as far as overall best DB in the league, he is currently, his overall grade is 147th out of 216 DBs. That's far from the best.
Yeah,
and that's according to PFF. Snap count, he's 40th in snap count. Interceptions, he's tied for 11th. He's got 2, but his overall grade is a 56.6, which is 147th out of 216 DBs. So that is way
not his best year. And hey, you gotta
not had a great year.
The thing you gave Belichick, Belichick made tough decisions, and I mean, as fans, I'd love to see everyone stay. I'm a fan of these guys. I got my Diggs jersey. I don't want to see him go nowhere. So, but what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it's a business. And if the Patriots were notorious for getting rid of guys and moving on a year too early rather than a year too late. Because if you hang on to a guy too late, the fans are really going to let you have it. And the other one I would say is Zach Martin. Zach Martin's battling injuries. I think he's probably going to retire on his own, but you're looking at kind of the way he slipped. I mean, in his contract, I mean, if it makes sense, would you, if he wanted to come back, would you say, hey, we may not want you? Or, I mean, it's Zach Martin, you got to take it back.
I think Zach Martin is going to choose to move on his own. I don't think the Cowboys have to make that decision. I think honestly, I think he's going to retire after this year. I think you kind of heard a little bit of that from Parsons, and when Parsons was talking about wanting to win it this year for guys like Zach, because I think he knows. I mean, that's usually something I think that's kind of, he's probably shared that with some people within that locker room, that he's probably leaning that way. He's watched, Travis Frederick walk away from the game, with injuries, watched him walk away early. You've got Tyron Smith out there with the New York Jets, and he's injured again with the Jets. I think Tyron Smith is another guy that's probably going to be looking to, he'll probably retire. I don't know that Tyron Smith comes back and plays another year at football. And so you look and you see some of those guys like that, leaving the football field. This was a very tough year for Zach Martin in terms of injuries. Maybe he's one of those guys that thinks about it for a while and sits out some of the offseason activities and waits and makes a decision to kind of see the direction the team's going before he makes a decision. Me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he walks away and retires though and hangs it up after this year. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. And my man Steve, you're from the U. I'm the U. We love passion, but I mean, let's just be honest. He walked into a locker room and 2 seconds later, he was still in full uniform. Wasn't like a press conference later. I mean, is he that insecure and sensitive that he's looking at his phone the second he goes in the locker room? Because if he is, I got to wonder where his mind is during the game. That's just my opinion. It's my opinion. And I love Diggs. Like I said, if he comes back, I'll rock my Diggs jersey. I'm just saying that kind of shook me a little different. Because it was just so soon after. I'm wrong.
I can give some of it to the new system, but when you combine the fact that Diggs is having a down year, along with the fact that he has yet another knee injury, I mean, those are starting to pile up for him, man. And that's, so you got to look at the collective of things. You got to look at how much you're paying this guy every year. The fact that he's now on a second major reconstructive knee surgery. The fact that he's another year older, the fact that he did have a down year. I mean, and you know what? Maybe the Cowboys use him and they trade him. Maybe they decide to trade him. That's always something that could happen too. Maybe they decide to trade Diggs and get something out of him versus cut Diggs. But there's going to be decisions that have to be made. And there's going to be some hard decisions that have to be made. And the better teams in the league, the best teams in the league, like you had hearkened on the Patriots, the best teams in the league make hard decisions. You cut these guys before they're completely washed and having a terrible year. And you're like, damn, why is this guy on the team when we're still paying him, 12, 13, 14 million a year? We should have cut him. We should have moved on from him. We should have traded him, but now it's too late. You're proactive versus being reactive. And that's the best teams out in the NFL is the ones that are proactive versus reactive. So sometimes you got to take your emotion out of it. Again, like Mike said, he likes Diggs, loves Diggs. I don't really want to see him gone. I'd hate to see him cut, but at the same time, it's a business. And sometimes in business, hard and harsh decisions have to be made. So that's possibly one that have to be made.
I mean, shit. I mean, the Chiefs let go of Tyreek Hill, for God's sakes. And and they won Super Bowls after him. So, I mean, you just never know. And obviously they got Patrick Mahomes, which makes a little bit of a difference. But it is what it is. So I want to get in at the end. We're going to talk a little college football because I think he's been very active with the excitement of his Texas Tech Raiders and what's going on. I know he can't wait to dip into that. We got some Texas fans to make fun of. We got a full thing that we've got to do. But, it's the end of the year. This game it's about pride. I mean, the Cowboys realistically have no chance for the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. But it's Sunday Night Football. Mike Tag's heading out there. I fly out on Friday. I'm going to have a great time and a long weekend. Going to do a lot of fun stuff. It's my last hurrah at seeing the Cowboys. I was thankful that the Cowboys did win against the Panthers. I thought they were going to win because I think the odds of me going a full season without seeing them win had they lost, would have been come to fruition, because they are playing the Buccaneers team who's coming in pretty hot. They're playing good football. So the Cowboys, this is to your point. I think you said it on the air. Hopefully you did. It wasn't when we were talking. This is going to be a true test to kind of see where they're at. They beat up on the Panthers. They beat up on Washington. They beat up on the Giants. Now they're playing a team that's playing good football. Their running game is getting going with Bucky Irvin. Mike Evans is Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield is I like him. I know some people don't like him. I like him as a quarterback. I think he's got some moxie, and I like his attitude. Defense has been solid. So where do you see this game looking like, and keys to victory? I mean, what's your thoughts on this Cowboy Bucs game? And they didn't flex it, which I was prepared for. They did not flex this game. Ratings are too good for the Cowboys. But what do you think, Kelly? And you guys in the chat too.
So, I mean, just looking at it from the outside, this Bucs team has kind of been an up and down team all year. They're a good football team, but they can have a bad football game. They can have a bad football game. Mike Evans right now is playing at a really high level, and him and Baker Mayfield seem to have a connection. So that is something that concerns me. When you have a receiver like Jamar Chase that just absolutely just shredded and cut through our defense like a hot knife through butter. I think Mike Evans has the capability of doing that to the secondary right now. Especially now that you're down a Diggs and you don't have him in there, and he's going to be able to easily be matched up on somebody that's less experienced. But ultimately in this game, I think what it'll come down to, I think the Cowboys will play another good game. I think that it'll be a tight game. I have Dallas losing this game again. I've had crazy that I've picked against them multiple times this year, but I just think that Tampa Bay is a little bit too much for this team right now. I think defensively, I think we'll do a pretty good job defensively, but I think that Tampa Bay will score enough, and I don't think that the Dallas offense will score enough. Tampa Bay's got a much better defense than several of the defenses that we have played against in the past few weeks. Much better than the Giants, much better than the Panthers. That defense for Tampa Bay, I think will be enough to get a turnover, maybe two off of Cooper Rush. He's gotten lucky on a few plays recently, plays that should have been interceptions that weren't. And so I think that luck probably runs out against Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay ends up with a turnover, maybe even two in this game. And I think we lose it. I think it'll be a close one. I think they'll keep it probably within a touchdown. But ultimately, I think Tampa Bay is going to win this one.
Yeah, and to your point, it's interesting. They've won 4 in a row. Before that, they lost 4 in a row. So just to run it through the schedule so you get an idea, they lost to the Ravens by 10, lost to the Falcons by 5, lost to the Chiefs by 6, lost to the 49ers by 3, beat up on the Giants 30-7, beat the Panthers 26-23 in a game the Panthers really blew it. The guy fumbled. Panthers should have beat him, to be honest with you. That was that overtime game. They beat up on the Raiders. So you look at the 3 games, like, geez, they didn't really play anybody, right? Well, it's almost kind of the same teams we play. But the one that scares me is Uncle Cheech's lock of the week was the Chargers. Tampa going to L.A., and Tampa just annihilated them last week, 40-17. So are you going to get that? If we get that Tampa team, there's going to be a lot of problems. I mean, just being honest. If we get that team, it's going to be a problem. If we get the team from the last 5 weeks, I think Dallas has a shot. And it's interesting. The spread is about 3.5. Tampa is favorite. And it's, being on the road, that's what, a 6 point. You said it probably could be just around a field goal. So you're thinking kind of what Vegas would be thinking on a neutral site. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting. I think we got a shot. I think we got a shot. I think for the Cowboys to win, you're going to have to see the performance from your defense that you've seen the last couple of weeks. You're going to have to see Rika. I mean, you got to see a mirror image game, maybe even a notch better than what you saw last week. Mike Evans worries me. He's a big receiver.
Yeah.
He's physical. He can present a big problem. Baker's just hot and cold. You just don't know what you're going to see. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a fun game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, to your point. I think it's going to be close. I think Dallas has a shot, but I mean, realistically, Tampa's playing for a lot right now. They're ahead in their division. They lost to Atlanta twice. So as bad as Atlanta is, if Atlanta just ties with them, Atlanta wins the division just because they beat them twice. So, and cuts with Kimmy going to the game. I mean, how the hell do you not think that the Buccaneers, they would not dare disappoint Kimmy on her first NFL football game, would they?
I mean, maybe, you know what? I didn't know that, man. I didn't know that she was. I didn't know that. I knew when I didn't know that. Cuts. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know that Kimmy was going to the game. I'm gonna have to change my prediction and say Dallas wins this game now. I didn't know that. She's gonna be the good luck charm. It'd be the reason why the Cowboys can win if Kimmy's in the house. I mean, how could I pick them to lose? I'm gonna have to switch my pick. Dallas is gonna win now. Dallas is gonna win this game. No, I do. I think it'll be an interesting game. I really do. I hope they do get that win. That'll be an awesome experience, Cuts. So I'm happy for you guys to be able to do that and experience that together. But I think it will. I think it'll be an interesting game. I think that's why they didn't flex it, is because the Cowboys have played a lot better down the stretch, and it has a if you get if you get the Cowboys team that has been playing the way that they've been playing the last few weeks, then I think that's what is going to make for an entertaining game, because I think they can keep it close. I don't think it's a blowout by any stretch of the match. I don't think you see them do to us what they did to the Chargers. I don't think that happens. Like I said, if the Cowboys lose this game, I don't think it's by more than a touchdown. And if the Cowboys come out and if Cooper Rush protects the ball and the defense plays well like they do, and Rico Dowdle runs the ball like we've been seeing, if they continue that, if they're able to continue that and do that against Tampa Bay, then they will have a shot to win that ball game. Absolutely, they will. I think I've just been saying that. I feel like that I've been picking the Cowboys to lose just because I'm tired of getting disappointed. And when I pick them to lose and then they win, I'm just like, it's a win for me. I'm so much more positive. I'm happy.
I like the positive, Kelly.
I'm just, I feel so much better when they win, and I was expecting them to lose because I'm not gonna lie, man. I tell people all the time. I mean, I don't know if people think I'm just pulling shit on them or whatever, but I mean, I'm there's been games where I've just sat there and watched it completely emotionless when we're getting our asses kicked. But when they win, it's like, it feels good to jump up and yell. It feels good to pump my fist. It feels good to, let's go. It feels good to do that. I haven't been able to do that much this year. So to be able to do that, I don't care if they're playing the Panthers, if they're playing the Giants. I don't care who they're playing. They could be playing a team that hasn't won a game all year. If they're winning, and they're making winning plays and playing winning football and looking like a competent football team, that makes me more apt to be cheerful, to be happy, to walk out with my chest a little, pumped up a little bit, you know what I mean? And feel a little bit better about my team moving forward. So I don't want them to lose under any circumstance. I'm not one of those guys that at the end of the game goes, well, we just, we're ruining our draft position. What are we going to, I don't know why we're winning these games. We should have lost it. I'm not like that. I want to win. I want to win. I enjoy winning. I enjoy being on the winning side of football. So I hope that's what they do. I hope they go into this game, and I hope they blow them out. I don't think that's going to happen, but I hope that they win. I hope that the Cowboys win.
It feels good to win. Like I said, man, that Panther, it felt good walking out of it. It feels good walking out of the stadium.
Let me ask you a question. Just a hypothetical question, obviously, because I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Obviously, I picked, kind of picked them to lose, switched my pick when I found out Kimmy's gone. But if the Cowboys win this week, right, they win against them, right, and then they got Philly. Okay, let's just assume Philly beats Washington again like they did last week. Philly will have won, 11 in a row?
They'd be 12-2, right?
They're already 12-2.
They're 13-2. They were 2-2. So I think it's 11 in a row.
So it'd be 11 in a row if they win this weekend. Okay, so if they win this weekend, that's 11 in a row, right? Okay, let's just say that Dallas wins against Tampa, then they come out, Phillies won 12, they won 11 in a row, and now all of a sudden, they're primed for a loss. The Cowboys beat them. If the Cowboys run the table Is it possible still that the Cowboys make the playoffs, or are they, because they haven't officially been eliminated?
They're not mathematically eliminated. The problem the Cowboys have, Seattle is ahead of them, right? The Rams they're going to need several teams. There's one spot. There's one playoff spot open because the Vikings and the Packers have two of the wild card spots.
Well, the
right?
Vikings play the Seahawks this weekend.
So we need the Seahawks to lose. You need either the Seahawks and Rams to lose so we can jump one of them. They both can't win.
Because the Cowboys would have to run the table. They can't lose any more games, right?
No, Cowboys have to run the table. Because the best they could be is 9-8. And like Washington, if Washington wins one more game, they're pretty much eliminate the Cowboys because they'll have more wins than the Cowboys because they're at 9 wins right now. And if they lose, then they play Atlanta, they play Philly and us. I mean, they could lose all three. I mean, there's no – it wouldn't shock me in the least.
I don't think Washington beats Philly this weekend.
Yeah, I don't
think they beat Philly this weekend. I think Washington loses this weekend. And I mean, the Cowboys have already shown that they can beat Washington. I think that they could do it again at home because they did it on the road already. I think they could beat them at home. The only game that I think that the Cowboys really, the game that is a long shot is for them going on the road in Philly and beating Philly in Philadelphia. That would be a huge task. But can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine if they did? Look, I'll say this right now: if the Cowboys beat the Bucs this weekend, I will have a sliver of hope. I will have a sliver of hope that they can go on the road and win in Philadelphia. They have played way better on the road. They've played better on the road than they have at home. If the Cowboys can beat the Buccaneers, I'm not going to walk into that game in Philly with my head down thinking that it's an automatic loss. I mean, because
you'll be talking your shit. You're going to be talking your shit with your chest out.
That goddamn right. Goddamn right. Because we will have just beat a playoff team. And I'll say, listen, we've beaten 2 playoff teams now. And Washington, I don't know if they'll be a playoff team, but they're a winning team. We beat Washington. We beat Tampa Bay. If we can beat Tampa Bay, I'll say, listen, anything can happen when this Dallas Cowboys team plays up to their potential. And listen, Philadelphia is due for a loss. It's hard to win that many games in a row.
I'll tell you this: if I'm Philly, I want to lose a game. Like
I think so too. I keep wondering about the game. The pressure just starts to build, right? Yeah.
So I would definitely. We got a prediction. Ryan Garcia predicted Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Cooper Rush. Might pull a Nick Foles. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love it. That would be a Cinderella like no other. Probably one of the sweetest moments, and we can, that would be something to enjoy, but probably not likely.
I mean, I that's like wishing to hit the lotto. Your odds on that are so long that you can't even see the end of those odds. So,
well, that would make for an off season. So we're gonna pivot a little college football, and I was so excited. I was looking through, and the All-American team, came out, and lo and behold, I got a couple Canes on there. I got Restrepo, who I was hoping maybe will fall to Dallas somewhere in the second or third round if they want looking for a receiver. I
don't know if you've seen my mock draft the other day. I don't think you did because I didn't see anything. I mocked Restrepo to us in the third round.
All right, well, I'm gonna go look that up and retweet it because I need more of that. We need Canes vibes. You got Cam Ward, Genty, a lot of guys. A couple of things I want to talk about with you and with the chat, and I don't want to take all your time, but you had strong comments about Travis Hunter being the Heisman and getting that, and I will respectfully disagree. I don't necessarily would be upset if Genty got it. I wouldn't have been upset, but I don't think it was so egregious that Travis Hunter, who played both sides of the ball at pretty damn high level, played at both sides of the ball for the entire game. I just don't have an issue with him winning the Heisman.
So it's not that so much that I have an issue with it. I just felt like it almost felt like more of a, in my opinion, almost more of a kind of a popularity thing because Deion Sanders and the whole every Colorado. I mean, Colorado was getting they were getting so much hype before the season even started. When you look at the numbers, and I get it, he played on both sides of the ball, but when you look at the numbers, I mean, Hunter was not number one in any category across the board, not number one in any cornerback or wide receiver. Now, he was top 5 in both, I believe. Actually, I think he was 11th in interceptions. Either way, when I looked at the season that Genty had, he consistently, I mean, he was number 1 in every single category that you could think of: touchdowns, rushing yards, yards per carry, everything. And I just thought, wire to wire, I thought he was the best, because the best is being first in your categories. And I understand Travis Hunter, the argument that he plays both ways. This is just the way that I viewed it. And, I know people say that the level of competition, I'm a Big 12 fan. The Big 12 was ass. Don't tell me level of competition. The Big 12 is not that great. Arizona State has got a first-round bye in the college playoffs, and when they get played by Texas, more than likely they're going to get their asses smoked by double digits. They have no absolute chance of beating any team in the playoffs. I don't think that. I don't believe it. I just don't. And
I put $25 on them to be national.
I understand you did. I hope your bet pays off. But listen, I'm a fan of the Big 12. We were not overly strong this year. I don't see the Big 12 as being this, juggernaut. There was some decent teams in there, but the Big 12 had weaker competition. And look, so did Boise State. But look, Genty went for 3 touchdowns and 192 on the number 1 team in the nation in Oregon. I mean, he did play against that was the only top-ranked team he played. But when he did, he put up amazing numbers on that team. You look at Colorado. Colorado did not beat a top 25 team all year long. They didn't play. I think they only played 1 top 25 team throughout their entire
Neither did Texas, just for the record. I'm said that for you and your honor. Neither
did
Texas. Texas didn't beat a top.
Yeah. So, that, in my opinion, the whole strength of schedule thing, that doesn't hold any weight with me, because I don't think, if you're going to say that about, Boise State, well, then, you're going to have to acknowledge that Colorado didn't play anybody either. So, look, I get what Hunter has done. It's something that we haven't seen, and it's something we may not ever see again. I'm not mad at it. My opinion was that I thought Genty was the guy that I would.
Well, I was trying to help you, because I thought I put this up there because then I thought in Kelly's mind, he's going to have a really good comeback. And I'll say it for you. They had to create, all-purpose player for All-American, because Restrepo and, they had another, he wasn't even an All-American receiver. Now, he might have got All-American cornerback. I didn't look at the defense. I was more worried about my Canes. But I get exactly what you're saying. And I wouldn't argue if Genty was it. So I was just having fun with it. But
what I have the biggest issue with was the fact that they got the running back from Arizona State. Dude, I'm telling you, man, my guy Taj Brooks ain't getting no love, man. I mean, he's better than the running back Sketabo, whatever his name is. Sketabo. Taj Brooks is better than him, man, and he'll be better than him at the next level. He is the only running back in college football this year that rushed for over 100 yards in every single game besides Genty. It was him and Genty, and that's where the list ends. And the fact that Taj Brooks did not get on that All-American, and not only that, we beat Arizona State head-to-head, and Taj Brooks had the better game when they were, I get it, they don't go up against each other. He had the better game, and Taj Brooks, I think, is a more complete back. I think he blocks better. I think he runs better. I think he catches passes better. I would take him in the draft over him. I keep seeing some of these mock drafts, and some of these guys got, Taj Brooks falling down in like the 4th round. If the Cowboys could draft Taj Brooks in the 4th round, he'd be an absolute steal. I would absolutely love to get Taj Brooks. I'm over the top of that guy. Again, Texas Tech. But I think he's a great running back. Great, and I think
you've been hyping him up, so it'll be interesting. But maybe they're not getting the respect they deserve, but maybe that's changing. You and I talk about NIL, we talk about transfer portal, and you're living my life last year. The Canes were very active in a transfer portal, and they hit some home runs. Obviously, Cam Ward being the biggest home run, and you see what it can do to your I want to say franchise, but to your organization and to your college team. it looks like Texas Tech has maybe found a little bit of money in the cupboard that they're spending a little bit, and they've been making moves. So what is your thoughts on the transfer? Because my thing is, I like it. I think it levels the playing field, because what I've said, and I know the SEC diehards don't like to hear this, the SEC is not the SEC that you remember. The teams are all their backups that they used to roll out there that were better than starters, they're now on other teams. Everything is leveled the playing field. There's parity in college football. So when I look at a Texas Tech being aggressive, that's a team that can make a huge jump. They're in a conference that's favorable for them, right? Like you say, and maybe that's something they can make a move. So what's your thoughts, being a smaller school, not a football traditional powerhouse, getting the opportunity to move up quickly and not have this whole process of recruiting?
I don't have a beef with the fact that they're paying players. I don't have a beef with, the only thing that I think that they need to limit the restrictions on how many times you can transfer. That's the only thing that I have. I have a problem with these guys jumping school to school to school to school, 4 years, 3 different universities. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I think they should cap it to where you can only transfer, and cap it and say, hey, you can transfer twice, or put a limit on how many times they can transfer, just because I think it's gotten to the point where, there's like 1,500 kids that interested to transfer. Well, it's just insane a number of people that transfer every single season. But what I do like about it, the pros of it is, like you said, smaller university. Look at SMU. SMU. Who would have ever thought SMU is going to be in it? That's a smaller school than Texas Tech. You look at a school like Indiana. Indiana hit the transfer portal hard last year. I think they got 19, if I remember, 18 or 19 kids for the transfer portal. And they're a college football playoff team this year. You look at a team, Arizona State, not a powerhouse team, but you know what I mean? It gives some of these going into the transfer portal and being to put in work in the transfer portal and having a success in getting some of these top tier talents to come to your university and let's just be honest, they're coming because you're paying them. You're throwing some money at them also, but they kind of look at things and they say, okay, this team looks like they might be on the verge. Texas Tech was a team this last year that won 8 games. But they had some positive things going for them, and I think the world of our head coach. I think he is one hell of a recruiter. I think he's a coach that you want to play for. That there was a few times this year where they talked to him after the game and he got really emotional about his players and how much he felt for his players, and just he's a guy that he's a very good coach, I think, and I think good things are happening for him. But I can't hate it right now when I'm looking at Texas Tech and what they've done. Not to spend too much time on them, but I'll just read down this list real quick, though. In the transfer portal so far this year, they're not done yet, but Texas Tech has got the number 1 defensive lineman, the number 2 offensive tackle, the number 4 tight end, the number 6 defensive lineman, the number 6 cornerback, the number 7 cornerback, the number 7th offensive tackle, the number 11 safety, 17th wide receiver, the number 33 defensive lineman, and the number 34 cornerback. They have loaded up in their secondary. They have loaded up along the offensive line and the defensive line, where that's where you need to really make an impact, is along the trenches. Man, they have retooled and just completely retooled this offensive line, which was a weakness for them, which I think now will be a strength for them. And across the defensive line, man, they've added some beef, and into the secondary. A couple of the guy that they just got today, the defensive back from Purdue, which was the number 6 or number 7 DB. We got number 6 and 7. The secondary is improved, the defensive line's improved, offensive line. So it could totally turn a team around. A team that won 8 wins last year, that's bringing back some key talent, going to bring back the same quarterback that we had last year with another year of experience. And it's just looking like it's going to be a team that, could go from 8 wins, and we could easily next year compete for the Big 12 title. And if you win the Big 12 title, you're in college football playoffs. So, and before the transfer portal, this is something that I had no hope of, because I'm like, we got to compete against the SEC in recruiting. We got to compete against the bigger schools like Texas powerhouse, Oklahoma powerhouse. You know what I mean? So it was something to where I looked at as kind of a pipe dream. I'm like, you know what, Texas Tech, I accept it for what it is. Texas Tech's always going to be a bowl
eligible kind of team.
Yeah, they're just going to be, a mid-level bowl. Maybe have a one-off season where we win 10 games, and and maybe get to a higher tiered bowl. But college football playoffs, probably not in our future. Now I can look at it logistically and say, depending on what happens, obviously coaching, you still got to get these players to play and be a cohesive unit. You got to coach them up and everything. But now I'm looking at it right now, and I think that Texas Tech, I think will start next year in the top 25. And I think that could be a team that absolutely could compete for the Big 12 title next year and be a college football playoff team. So it gives me optimism. So I like the transfer portal. That's got its pros. It's got its cons. But right now I'm loving the pros more than the cons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to ask another question, but I definitely want to get to our man, EJ. I don't know if he's going to go back-to-back in the Cowboys cave, fantasy football league. I got to see what happened. I didn't see who moved on to the next round, but hopefully, I'll be happy if he wins back-to-back. But we like to spread the wealth. The cut's going to be making another trophy. We got to spread it around. But we didn't talk about it, but that was going to be one of the things with UNC and the addition of Bill Belichick. I was talking to Doug and talking to some people in the Carolina, and they hired a GM. They got Lombardi in, right? He's gonna the GM for that was with Belichick. Michael Jordan is said to be pumping a lot of money into NIL for them to have a treasure chest to really go after it. They're going to run it like free agency. They're going to run it like an NFL organization. What do you think? How do you think Belichick is going to do? Now, we see all the memes of he's going to be Rodney Dangerfield and back to school. I think it's funny. It could be true. We'll see what happens if he's at the parties. But, what do you think? He's a winner, and now he's in the ACC, and UNC has usually been a thorn in McCain's side. So what are your expectations for Belichick in college football?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting story. These college football coaches, man. I think that they work harder than NFL coaches, and the reason why is because NFL coaches got guys that they can just delegate all this stuff to. When it comes to you being a head coach in college football, you are involved in every aspect. That comes to recruiting, that comes to your coaching, that comes to being involved with your coordinators. Everything top to bottom. And you look at the wear and tear it takes on those guys. That's why you don't see a lot of really old. Look around the landscape of college football. Not a lot of old guys out there coaching. Most of these guys are younger. Nick Saban was kind of the exception to the rule or whatever, and he stepped away from it. He's gone now, right? So Bill Belichick is stepping into a young man's game, in my opinion, just because it takes a lot. You're working long hours, man. There's no off season for these guys. You're talking right now because you're talking about going into bowl season, but you look at these coaches right now. They're in the transfer portal. They're trying to get kids to come. They're hitting the transfer portal. You've also got high school kids that you're trying to recruit for the following year. You're talking about recruiting into 2026. You're working on your recruits for 2026. So it's like a nonstop cycle. There is no end to college football. It is just, where the NFL, you get a little bit of downtime where you can kind of shift gears. It doesn't ever feel like that in college football. College football feels like 365 all the time because you've got your high school football. You're trying to recruit for your classes for 2025, but now you're going to 2026 already. It's just it's a game where I feel like it's a young man's game, and to see how Bill Belichick does with that, because he is the age that he is, I'll be anxious to see how he does, because you're gonna need a lot of energy for it. So I hope that I know he's got that 20-something-year-old girlfriend, man. And he probably popped a couple of Viagra and he thinks he can hang because he's able to hang with his girlfriend. But hanging with your girlfriend and then being a college coach. I just think it's a totally different ball game, man.
It's going to be interesting. What I wonder, your son's 19, so maybe you ask him one day. Does Belichick's name carry weight with kids coming out of high school now?
Yeah, I feel like it would be, honestly, I feel like it would be more people around closer to my age, to be honest with you. Because, they know, I think that some of these kids do know who Bill Belichick is. But is a college kid who now can go out and make millions really worried about going to play with Bill Belichick if he can get millions somewhere else? If you've got the top quarterback in high school football, the top quarterback recruit, right, and you've got Bill Belichick coming after him, but then you've got half a dozen other. You've got Sark from Texas. You've got name any other half a dozen coaches, right? You've got all these other coaches, but they're all offering you millions of dollars. They're saying, hey, you know what? We got a $2.5 million NIL deal. We'll offer you $10 million. They're offering these high. Is Bill Belichick's name really going to carry that much weight that it'll make that big of a difference? I don't know. Having Michael Jordan as one of your boosters, I mean, if he's a guy that can kind of, give a little, that might help, because I think the Jordan name still helps. And the Jordan brand
that still carries weight.
Absolutely helps. I just am curious to see. I'm just curious to see how this experiment will work.
Yeah. And then one of the other questions, and I know EJ is heavy into the draft and into college football. I don't know the answer, so I'm going to ask you if you know the answer. So when these kids get the NIL money, so like I go to Texas Tech and you paid me $1 million. Next year I said, you know what? I'm done with this place. I'm going back. Are they paying for a year of service, just a verbal commitment? Or do they have to pay any money back if they go to another school? Or can they go school to school to school and get $1 million from you and $1 million from him and $2 million from this one? Is that what these kids are doing now?
I don't know. I don't know about the rules of that. I don't know how the NIL deals, because it is a deal. They're called NIL deals. So I don't know. I don't know if those NIL deals are exclusive to only when you're at the university, or if it's, hey, you sign with us, you get X amount of money regardless, and that's even if you transfer the following. You'd think that they would have some kind of,
like, is it a lump payment? Is it a paper bag they're getting on the side?
That's what I'm saying. You think that there'd be some kind of a safeguard similar to like when an employee offers a signing bonus. You have to work there for a certain amount of time in order to get the full signing bonus, and if you quit before that time, you either don't get the rest of it, or you might have to pay some of it back in some cases. So you would think there'd be some safeguards in it, but I'm not exactly sure how those NIL deals work, because they really haven't made those public in terms of how they work. You know what I mean?
I was just always curious. I see these guys leaving and then they're going all over the place. I'm like, man, do they have to pay this money back, or what? Do they keep it all? They spend it. So anyway, I love college football. I'm excited for the playoffs. They start on Friday. So this is. I wish my Cowboys were much better, and maybe they're not dead yet, so I guess they're still in a playoff mode. But you got this playoff. You got games Friday that really matter. You got games Saturday. You got games Sunday. Then you got Monday. And then you're going to go the next week, and you're going to do it all over again. It's really exciting time of year if you're a football fan. So, who is your dark horse? We'll finish up with this. Who's your dark horse, and who is your favorite for the college playoffs?
Man, I am gonna have to say. Well, first of all, I had to look it up. For some reason, I was thinking that Tech played Saturday. We played Friday night, so Friday night is 6. You know what? Honestly, I kind of like Oregon to win. And I don't just say that, take the cheap way out because they're number one. I just like I like their offense. I think they got I think their offense is really good. I think they got a good enough defense to kind of keep them in things. But I love I think they put up a lot of points. And I know EJ is going to like that because he just said that he's an Oregon fan. But I like them. I would say dark horse. I mean, I don't know that you could call Texas a dark horse, but they got beat twice by Georgia.
I would say they're a dark horse. They're playing in the first round. So.
Yeah, I guess if it was going to be a dark horse, it would probably. I fucking hate to say that even.
I can't believe you said those words.
And the thing is, because they've got so much talent on that team.
Well, and to your point though, look at this is the scary thing about and they don't reseed. It's just a straight up. Oregon gets the bye, but Oregon has to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. That's not that's a tough game for the number. Think about that. The number one seed. That's what they're going to be playing. If Texas beats Clemson, they're playing Arizona State, and if they beat Arizona State, which you think they'd be favored in, they're in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Where Oregon is going to have to beat the winner of that game, and then Oregon is going to have to play. Then Oregon would play Texas in the Final Four if Texas were to make it. Like some of the brackets, you look at the brackets that they have, it makes you wonder, who's got the easier in. I mean, you got Boise State. They're playing SMU and Penn State. If I'm Boise State, I'm pretty happy. I mean, Penn State has not beaten a top 10 team. I can't remember the last time they did. And SMU, you still just don't know what you're going to get out of them. So it's interesting the way the brackets kind of fall out. So where you could see Texas as a team that could get to the Final Four. So I'll never say Texas because I don't like Texas because some of their fans, except for Cuts, are mean.
Well, I know I hate it. Listen, I would love more than anything, and you will see me going into absolute troll mode if they lose to Clemson in the first round. But I mean, I feel like that Texas has a pretty easy road. I mean,
they do.
You're talking about playing Clemson. This is the 12 seed, and then you're going to play an Arizona State team that is coming from the Big 12, and Texas Tech beat Arizona State. They're not that good. I don't know. I mean, they whooped the hell out of Iowa State, which I don't. Again, Texas Tech beat Iowa State too. So I mean, I look at that and I'm just thinking, okay, so Texas basically, in order to get there and to get to the quarterfinal or to the semifinals, they basically just got to beat Clemson and Arizona State, and they're one game away from the national championship.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they probably have to go through Oregon, I would imagine, to get there, and I think that's where Texas would probably falter. But they do have a very easy path to basically, and because I think if Texas plays Oregon, I think that's a pretty fairly even matchup right there. And I think that it could go either way. I mean, you looked at that game against Georgia. I mean, there's a play here or there. Texas could have ended up winning that game. But again, I hope Texas loses to Clemson. I hope that's not even a thing. But I don't think SMU. I think, in my opinion, probably Penn State would advance. I think in that Final Four, I think it's going to be Oregon, Texas. I think Boise State actually makes it into that Final Four, and then I think it's Georgia. And then I think for the national championship, I think it's going to be Oregon and Georgia, and I think Oregon probably wins it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I might go on record. I will be like your mini me if Texas loses to Clemson. I'm going to be like I'm going to be hanging on all those retweeting and piling on. I'm going to be like, while you're beating the shit out of someone, you know what I mean? I'm going to be in the corner just kind of kicking them every now and then when they roll over to my side, because if Clemson beats Texas, they'll never hear the end of it for me. Let's just say that.
Fingers crossed. I had somebody the other day tell me that they were like, because I was going back and forth with a Texas fan. He said, man, you don't even have a team in the college football playoffs. You might want to sit this one out. And I said, oh, no. That's where you're mistaken. I do have a team in the college football playoffs. It's anybody playing the Longhorns is my team. I don't know what you're talking about. Anybody playing the Longhorns, that's my team. So let's go.
And I never had an issue with them until we started this channel. And I don't know if it's your fault. I don't know if I'm getting the shrapnel because what you do. So now I'm guilty by association. But they have been very, very mean to me and my Canes and about everything. So one last. So I will. One last quick one, and then we will wrap it up. So we have our Final Four fantasy football. And it looks like EJ is the 1 seed. He's playing Doug, the 4 seed. And then you've got Jimmy D is the 2 seed. He's playing, is it Frank? Dak Attack? It might be. I think it is. Do you have any gut prediction? Do you think do we see the favorites? Do we going to see a
well, EJ ran it last year. I think he might be trying to go back to back.
Well, EJ has Jalen Hurts and Doug has Drake May. That can't be his quarterback. That's got to be some sort of mistake. But
I don't know. Drake
Doug
maybe.
has Barkley. He's definitely got the edge at running back. He's got Chase, but EJ has Jefferson. It looks like a pretty good matchup. The Guru has EJ at a 57% chance of winning, so he is the favorite. And they've got Jimmy is the underdog in being the 2 seed right now. He is the underdog in that matchup, so it's going to be interesting. But do you have any quick thoughts?
I mean, I think I'm going to take EJ, and then I think Jimmy Dee. I think this would be the top 2 seeds going against each other.
You think it's going to be? You think it's going to go play the way the bracket is?
I think so.
All right.
I think so. And I got to root for my boy Jimmy Dee. For my boy Jimmy Dee.
Well, we got to. I mean, someone from the cave has got to win a damn. I mean, this is our fantasy league, and we're the laughing stock. You and I didn't even make the playoffs.
I know. I mean, last year, I made the playoffs. This year, I not even close. I mean, I was struggling to keep from finishing dead last. Actually, right now, I'm dead last.
Oh, are you dead last? Oh.
I'm 4-10, but hey, we got the. I'm going up against it's still to be determined because they still have the bottom tier of the playoffs. So I still got one more game to play here, and I can possibly end up with another win and maybe end up second to last. So
that'll be good.
I'm still playing, man. I'm still out here putting my guys in. I'm still making moves. I'm still trying to win. I'm like the Cowboys out here. I have not given up. I did not go into.
You're not tanking. You're not tanking for the pick. So hey, leave it at this. Cuts has put it on there. I put it on there. If any of you guys love the cave, if you don't have a team in the race, root for Arizona State. I know we followed Uncle Cheech as a long shot, 5,000 or whatever it was to 1. I bet $25. It pays like 1,500 and something. I know Cuts bet 25 or $50. It pays big money. So if that's one, I mean, that could be an ultimate Cowboys Cave tailgate party stipend that we've got in there. So if you don't have a horse in the race, root for Arizona State to pull the upset and win a national title. Would be great for your conference, and that'd be good. So, but Kelly, it's been good, man. These are the times where we test our ability to run a program and run a show. But we did an hour and a half strong talking about everything sports, and that's what we love to do. So, had a great time. Hopefully, everyone in the chat did. Make sure. We got 140 you guys still hanging with us. Make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and share. Make sure you head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe. But it's going to be a fun weekend and a few more weeks left of football. So, Kelly, you have any final thoughts or anything to add?
Just enjoy some college football this weekend and everybody enjoy it. I mean, shit. Christmas Day is on Wednesday. I didn't even think about it. What are we do? What are we doing?
We want to have a show on Christmas Day.
I know we want to have a show on Christmas Day. Are we going to do something on that? We're going to switch it to.
We can maybe do Thursday or
Thursday, day after Christmas.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do Thursday. You still doing your dart league or something?
What's that?
You still got your league?
No, this session is over, so we don't have to do dart league. That won't be for a little while.
We'll play it on Thursday because the Cowboys play Philly. I mean, we got to have a Cowboys Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't not have a show that week. So yeah, we definitely got to do that. So yeah, that'll work.
So we'll do it, and we'll get you ready for the college football next round. We'll talk a little bit of that. So we appreciate it. You guys take care. Just hit that thumbs up, subscribe, like, share one more time. We'll see you. Take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need